Hey, what's up, everybody? And thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners and influencers. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can scale profitably. And today I am joined by the amazing Aaron Fletcher from the Fletcher Method. What's up, dude?
What is up, dude? Can I borrow you for my podcast intro? It was awesome.
Absolutely. Would you? What types of languages or accents would you like me to do?
Anything in between, man. Ideally Spanish, so we can reach the Mexican market.
Perfecto. Well, I will say that, and this is perfect because it's going to segue perfectly into our Brazilian Jiu-jitsu conversation. You do have one of the best Brazilian accents that I've ever heard in my life. That's the one accent that I can't do. I can do British, I can do Irish, I can do a bunch of other ones, but I cannot do the Brazilian one.
Yeah, it's just years of getting beat up on the mats by a lot of Brazilians from Brazil.
So let's start off. You know, we always have a little fun discussion, and you are, I believe, a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, I'm probably the longest standing American purple belt on the planet. I got my blue belt from Cesar Gracie in probably 2000 and oh my gosh, like 3 or something. Mm-hmm. Got my purple belt from Jake Shields, part of Cesar's team with Nick Diaz and all those guys. Mm-hmm. Probably 2005, and then took some time off to become an entrepreneur and made a horrible excuse that I couldn't do both, which was totally just being lazy. So now I'm back into it.
So, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about 9 months now, and I absolutely love it. I grew up playing soccer, so I kind of feel like I'm an athlete at heart. But jiu-jitsu is just a completely different thing, and, I get my ass kicked all the time, and I love it, and I'm progressing slowly. But, what got you into jiu-jitsu?
I think when I was still in the military, I was an EOD tech, which was like underwater demolition, like bomb disposal. Actually, I was an EOD diver. EOD tech is a different job. And I went in there like 91, got out there like 95, and the first UFC came out, and everybody went to watch, off the military base up in San Francisco, this fights. And I was like, how is there this 160-pound dude in pajamas, like, just beating these giants? And I was like, I can't believe it. And the first thing you think is like, he would never be able to do that to me, because might be staged. It might be some weird, paid match. Yep. So then I went down, and I had taken Taekwondo and Kung Fu, and I was taking Wing Chun Kung Fu. And this guy, this Kung Fu instructor said, if anyone tried to take me down, I would just give them, a death palm to the spine. And so I was like, okay, well, give me a death palm to the spine. And I took him down, and he just started flailing on the ground like a fish. So then I went to, long story short, I went to Cesar Gracie's school, jiu-jitsu school, and a kid named Caleb Mitchell, I'll never forget, he's a Cesar black belt now. He was 15 years old, and he started triangle. And I was a big dude out of the military. I was probably, 210 pounds. Back then I was in good shape. And
you're tall too. You got to be what, like 6'3"?
6'5".
6'5", holy shit.
Yeah, so he made me feel like a little helpless child. I was like, okay, sign me up. And then I just, you know how it is. You realize that like it becomes a lifestyle. It's like the reason why it's such a special thing is because you can go as hard as you want. And this is why I think it's more effective than a lot of like self-defense arts. And it's a lot more practical than like boxing or Thai boxing, because you can go as hard as you want, to where if you're really in the street, you can render somebody unconscious or end their life, but it's a weird, gentle environment where you can just start over again and again and again. So you can literally, there's no question about who's tougher, but you're not getting hurt. If you get hurt, as you know, it's an accident, like an accidental knee or something gets tweaked, but it's like you can train like you're trying to kill each other and barely hurt each other at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you competed at all?
I did a bunch of jiu-jitsu, not a bunch, probably 5 or 6 jiu-jitsu matches, and then a couple kickboxing matches, and a couple amateur MMA fights. The last one ended with me getting head kicked by a guy named Terrell Deese. What's up, Terrell? And just giant, strong dude, and hit me in the body and then went up to the head. And I remember I was laying on the mat and I looked up at my buddy Jake Shields and I said, "Did I win?" And he goes, "No, you didn't, man." So that was my last match. Getting kicked in the head wasn't too fun. Jiu-jitsu is probably a lot better for your brain.
So did you have any success though in your competitions?
Yeah, probably 3-1, and then jiu-jitsu probably the same, 4-2 or something. And there's some guys in our academies that were, most of the people that beat me were people I knew would beat me because they're like Division I wrestlers that learn jiu-jitsu, and they're just full-time, mixed martial. It's weird because back then you would be getting crushed and you didn't know it because everyone's crushing you, but then you'd go to a normal school like in the middle of the US and like you could beat the instructor. Like, I was getting beat by people that were in the UFC. So I was actually better than I thought I was for 5 years.
Right. And that's what's funny is like, cause I train down here in Tijuana, and I've never rolled with anybody from the States. And so I want, actually, I take that back. I was in Phoenix for a conference and I didn't have anything to do. Well, I wanted to work out. And so I found an academy there. It was I think it was a Gracie Baja Academy. And I went there and I did the white belt class. And in that particular school, you don't roll. So I went through, I did the drills, which was super helpful. For one, because it was in English. Because all the classes here are in Spanish, so I understand like 70% of what they're talking about. But then we didn't roll, and I was watching the blue belts and the purple belts that were rolling before, and I was like, are they going half speed or like what's going on here? Because we roll at the academy here, and for the most part, I only roll with the blue belts and purple belts. Because I want to learn, I want them to pick me up. And I feel like when I compete against somebody, it's not competing, it's for fun, but when I'm competing against somebody who's better than me, then I can shorten the learning curve for myself because they already know what to do. So I really want to go against somebody in the States and just see how I do.
Yeah. Robert Drysdale, just listen to his podcast. Keenan has a new podcast out, and Keenan Cornelius, who he is, he's awesome. And But they were interviewing Robert Drysdale, and he was like, "Dude, your job as a student, it's kind of like in the business coaching or consulting world too. It's like if you hire like a jiu-jitsu instructor to teach you, what white belts always do is ask a million questions. What about this? What if the guy does this? What about that?" And he was just like, "Your job is just to show up every day and roll." And he goes, "And you will get world class over time." And I've seen that. I've seen people that aren't that athletic, like stockbrokers and there's a lot of geeks in jiu-jitsu. I think there's actually a lot of marketing dudes do it. You've probably seen that. I mean, I've seen, from you, and then, Wes Schaefer, Ezra Firestone does a ton of jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
There's probably, 50 or 60 visible people in the space that like also do jiu-jitsu. It's become a thing. And I think it's because of that, like you can never get good at it, but the consistency makes you humble and confident. Like you can't BS yourself about life and act like you're some kind of expert bulletproof person. When you literally get choked every day, you can't be cocky in life.
Choked by a 15-year-old who weighs 100 pounds less than you. Know that. Yeah. So awesome, man. So let's talk about the Fletcher Method. I've personally been following you for years. I can't even remember. I think it was actually my friend Henry Evans, who I think Henry, but he ran the GKIC group in San Diego. And he introduced me to you, and I was just like following what you preach. And one of the things that I love about you is that you're like a real person. You're not the guy who's there with the Lamborghini. Like literally my favorite video that I've ever seen with you is when you're giving a tour of your house and you show your minivan. And I'm like, this is exactly what the internet marketing world needs. So talk about the Fletcher Method and how you got started. Because I know that you didn't start out as a nerd. You were a bomb. You make it sound like it's no big deal. You would defuse bombs underneath the water. So like, how did this whole thing get started?
Yeah, in a nutshell, not to bore the audience, but the key takeaways are, we came out with the one video that, well, first I just to give you a quick background, I started an agency, did everything wrong. I think Matt and Joe did this. Everyone did this in the beginning. I don't know, when you started your agency, you start doing things that aren't leverageable. Like, I'll build you a WordPress website for like, $2,000 or $1,000 and see you later. And you're always trying to get clients. And slowly, as I studied internet marketing and learned the hard way, I learned about recurring revenue and funnels and all the things that we need. But what really catalyzed, I think what caused most of our growth was one campaign I did by accident. I swear to God, it wasn't supposed to be an ad campaign. I made a video and I sent it to Jane, at the time my operations manager, and my wife Liz, and it was like this rant about the guru bullshit in the space, and it got like 3 million views and all this stuff, and that was really where I was coming from, and this is what we stand for now. Although you'll see every ad now, it seems like in the last 2 years, everyone's like the gurus this and the gurus that, but they don't name the gurus. They're just they are the gurus saying don't follow the gurus. You know what I mean? Like they're posting their car and their watch and all these things, but then they're saying, and they have fake scarcity on their evergreen webinars and fake countdown timers and like these courses. Like there's all these courses like everyone does it, from Dan Henry, everyone between, like, this course expires Friday. It's like, your course has been live for 3 years. It's not going to expire Friday. And I don't think you have to do that. And so I was really taking a stand there. And when I started trying to figure this marketing stuff out, I remember buying all these, how it is, all these courses are $2 or $3 grand, and they sell you to an event. Then at the event,
coaching program.
I remember I went to like the product launch formula in Arizona, and I remember then Brendan Burchard got on stage. It's like, we also need, if you really want to be successful, you got to buy my $2,000 product on top of the $2,000 product you just bought. And then this is when I just got fed up. So I bought it because I was all brand new and fired up, and I didn't have that much money. And then I went to Santa Clara to Brendan Burchard's $2,000 event, and guess who was on stage? Jeff Walker.
Pitching the same thing. Yeah.
No, like I went to his event where he pitched it, then his event where he pitched it again. I'm like, I already bought that one. And then those people all provide a lot of value. I've used launch formula stuff. I'm not saying the content is bad, and I think Jeff Walker's a cool dude, and a lot of them are cool dudes, but there's a lot of this thing where they teach you one piece of the puzzle, and I think they oversell it a lot. Like, if you take this webinar course, you're going to make $1 million. And if you take this Facebook ads course, you're going to make $1 million like me, and you're going to have this Mercedes. And what you really need to do is work really hard and do the stuff that's not sexy, like get your message down and your offer down and learn how to sell on video. And guess what? If you suck at video, you're going to have to do 10 more. And if you still suck, you're going to have to do 10 more. And so it's hard work. It's like jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. It's not a secret formula, a secret script NLP thing. So I just came out and said, look, here's exactly what you need to do. It's these 9 things. But guess what? It's going to take a lot of work, and most of you aren't going to actually do it. So I challenge you to actually, if you want it bad enough, then do it. And people tend to, it's been 5 years now, and people they dig it because it's the opposite of what people promote out there.
Yeah. And I can see your gold record there in the background with the ClickFunnels. So you've achieved the $1 million mark, at least with ClickFunnels. So obviously, you are a practitioner of what you preach as well, and the value of that. What is it that really sets you apart in your actual coaching? Well, describe to us in one sentence, what is the Fletcher Method?
Sure. So, and I'll answer both questions, and not that something really sets me apart above anybody else. I think there's a lot of awesome people, but it's the Fletcher Method is the whole landscape of building a successful online business, not one piece. So it's not just about traffic, not just about funnels, not just about copywriting or market research or anything in between. What I did is I kept zooming out and zooming out and zooming out. And like, wait a minute, the people that are really successful, they only have to do a few things right. And so we just broke that down. And then what I think set it apart in the market was my experience in the military was based on these really nerdy like SOPs, standing operating procedures. Mm-hmm. So we would literally, in our yard, we would have this is no crap here. We would have a van for diving if there was a underwater threat. We'd have a van for nuclear response. We'd have a whole different like truck, right? And there was only like 4 or 5 of us on the team. It was 5 of us at any given time. And we'd have a van for IEDs, like random Unabomber stuff. So we'd get a call and you'd have to respond, and you'd have to have every piece of gear right. You'd have to have a process or people can get like blown up. So
yeah, absolutely.
so using checklists, I was like, wait a minute, and Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach does as well in the business space. Matt Church, an Australian dude that I followed. Taki Moore was one of the first masterminds I was in. He was a disciple of Matt Church, and he would just teach like frameworks, checklists. I was like, wait a minute, that's what's missing is all these people are training and talking, but they're not saying, here's how you fill this out to find your message, fill this out to find your target market. Here's how you outline your sales video. Here's how you create a webinar. And it just I became addicted to taking wherever people were struggling and creating kind of a checklist or a framework for it.
Oh, that's perfect. I don't know if you read Extreme Ownership by Jocko.
Hell yeah. Jocko's a black belt and former Navy SEAL.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just finished his book last month, and he was talking about the importance of the SOPs. And just, the way that my brain works is I am obsessed with efficiency. I've taken the Myers-Briggs personality test, and they're like, this is the one thing about you that's like extreme. I'm always looking I don't know if other people do this, but like if I'm going to walk somewhere, I will analyze the situation and I'll be like, what's the fastest way that I can get there with the least amount of steps? And that's just automatically goes into my brain. So awesome.
Was that natural for you? Because when you're running a successful agency, that's all about what you do is you're finding points of friction and measuring everything. And I mean, agency owners have to be super, super process focused. Does that come easy or do you have to figure that out?
I think it came easy for me, it's not, no matter what, it's not easy. Right. And this is what I talk to agency owners about all the time. It's like, you're not going to find, 3 things that are just going to completely transform your agency from a systems and processes perspective. You're going to find like 100 little things that save you 15 minutes at a time, or that save you, 5 minutes at a time.
Incremental little tweaks, right?
Incremental little things. And once you add those up over time, you've reduced your, your inefficiencies by, 50%, but it's going to take a lot of time to get there. And so I think that I'm more attracted to put in that type of work because of my mentality, but it's still hard work nonetheless. Most agency owners are creatives or they're sales and marketing people for the most part. And they love the strategy and they love the selling. They hate the operations and the implementation, which is great.
And that's where all this scale comes, right?
Yeah, that's what we do. And that's how we help them scale. So yeah, to answer your question, it is easier for me in the sense because I don't run away from it, I think, as fast as other people do, but it's still hard. So yeah.
So you can sell the byproduct of that when the reason why you're successful what you do is because once you figure that out, you can productize it and help your clients and help agencies scale with it. And then you're saving them. Like, this is the opposite of like what I said earlier, but it makes sense. Like, don't blindly spend money on programs and gurus and training that don't solve a problem you're trying to solve right now. But at the same time, you're never going to be as successful as fast. Like if I could pay you, like, it's kind of weird. Like when I first got into space, I didn't think with this level of abundance. Like if I could give you right now $15,000 and get access to your SOPs or your basic processes, 5 years ago, I would have said, that's ridiculous. That's too expensive. Right now, I'd say, yeah, I'll do it right now because that's going to, like, I'm probably going to save over the course of 3 months and a year, $200,000 or $300,000 by having those efficiencies. So that's where the mindset changes as you become an entrepreneur that gets more traction and more success. It's like, man, now time is my ultimate currency. Like, how can I either outsource something, have someone else do it, or make it more efficient? You realize, like, that's the one thing you'll never get more of. Like you start to think about how quick your kids are growing up and how, you're getting older, and you're like, man, the ultimate thing to solve for now is just pure time.
Yeah. You know what I love doing? And this is actual real world example. So we had a client agency, they've been in business for a number of years, very, very talented at what they do. Great people, just good human beings in general. And for whatever reason, they would always send over the wrong logins and passwords. And, if you look at it on the surface, you're like, oh, it's not a big deal. But I broke it down for them. And I said, okay, so you send it over to us. By the time we respond and say, okay, we got it, it's going to be ready in, a couple of days. it's been 2 hours, right? And so then we get in and we start to do the work, and then we realize we don't have the right logins and passwords. We have to go back to you. Now we've lost 4 hours, and we respond. And then it takes you 2 more hours or 3 hours to be able to get back to us.
Or overnight, because there might be a time zone thing, or maybe it's late in the afternoon. Now we're talking 48 hours or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But best case scenario, let's say it all happens in one day. We lose, let's just say we lose 6 hours, right? If that happens 3 times a month, that's 18 hours. Multiply that by 12 months. You've lost almost an entire month of productivity. That's an incremental thing. That's a small thing that ends up having a huge impact. Now, if you look at it, let's say your project manager is having to do all of that. Let's say you pay your project manager, $7,000 a month, right? For somebody in the States, you just lost $7,000 because you don't have the right logins and passwords.
That's
now, what
hilarious.
makes more sense? What makes more sense? Let's create a process on your end before you submit something so that you know that you have the right logins and passwords, which you should be doing anyways. But let's just eliminate that, and let's give you back a month of time and save you $7,000 in project management fees.
So you could probably do that for 10 other small processes. Not next thing you know, you've doubled ROI on their time, and it wasn't even some major magical thing.
No,
it was just these improvements. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, those are the types of the conversations that we have with our clients. So getting back to you, I love the graphic that you showed me. I don't know if you still use it, but it was a pyramid. And it was like, basically like, you're at this point in your career and then this point, and you basically move up the pyramid and you have different challenges. How did you come up with that?
That's something that a gentleman named Matt Church calls the value model. And his books you can get free on his website. One, it's called the Thought Leader Practice. Mm-hmm. And it's essentially what we do, and we have all of our clients do something very similar, and I'll show you that. It's kind of cool. Yeah. It's just look at your target market you're going after and chunk it up into 4 blocks, instead of just saying we help agencies or we help, fitness gyms or whoever you help. Like, what's the main currency or problem that you solve? And if you help people scale in revenue, you help people with their body fat, it doesn't matter. Once you're clear on the problem you solve, then you can say, well, wait a minute, are we going to help beginners that are at 30% body fat, or beginners that are at 0 revenue? Or are we going to help people that are just like getting traction, or people that are kind of cruising, or people that are super athletes in their space? And a bunch of my friends and just clients have used it, and they're like, wait, when you show a client, when you give a client that clear of a ladder, and you're like, or a pyramid, like, where are you right now? And then they go, yeah, I'm at level 2. And then all of a sudden, because you're the one that showed them the whole landscape of their goals, their whole landscape of their journey, they go, holy crap, how do I get to level 3? And then we create the second piece, which we call the signature solution, which is, this is actually really powerful, probably for your audience, about how to create content and how to build an audience. We're building audiences for 2 to 5 cents and retargeting those audiences and getting leads for $1 to $2, because we have our clients sit down, if you can imagine, and say, okay, what are all the steps your client needs to go through to be successful? To launch an online business, to lose weight, to win their first 5K, whatever you're helping them do, to become a black belt in jiu-jitsu. What is the process? And we literally make our clients, we ask them to. We ask them to create a visual roadmap of their client journey. And this is what a lot of the copycats that try to, use our stuff and take our strategies, they can't do it properly. They don't get it because they think they can look at it and understand it. But what we do is we take every step of your client journey, and then we and I'm sure all of your agency clients do this too. We go, now let's create a content plan so you can start solving little problems that live inside there for your customers. You can make 2 to 5 minute videos, put them on YouTube, Facebook. And the difference between what we do and I think what 90% of service providers do is we don't create content without context. We don't just give people little tips and blog posts and videos that just add to their overwhelm. We say, here's this problem I'm solving for you, but here's where it lives in your journey. So everything comes back to where it lives in their journey. And then they go, holy mackerel, I've never seen such a clear path. And, we have examples from crazy things like growing a tomato garden to become, literally one gal teaches people how to become a professional cheerleader on an NFL team, how to increase your stock savings, how to launch a business. It doesn't matter. So it's again, it goes back to like systematizing every part of marketing is I think what we figured out is it just, I can't even explain all of it on this podcast, but one big takeaway is when you sit down and map out your customer journey and show them instead of telling them how to get from point A to point B, that becomes every piece of content you ever create. It becomes your sales enrollment script for your reps, because now they diagnose the client against all those criteria. Hey, who's your audience now? What's your message now? What are you charging now? And it becomes like an intake process. And then it's how you deliver clients. It's how you create your course. It's how you deliver your agency services. So it's really, really a cool time for the way this is all developing, because now we're taking that and turning it into a software application where people can log in and serve clients or do it for themselves and like kind of come up with their whole marketing strategy step by step.
And so if it's an agency, will they be able to use that tool to be able to help them craft the roadmap for their clients?
Yeah, we have about I want to say 150-ish certified partners. We had a program come out about 2 years ago where they can go through train a trainer, and then they have to get certified and they have to show us a return on investment that they've produced for their client. Mm-hmm. It's mostly coaches, not as many agencies, but more and more agencies are using it for the first part of like getting their client strategy down. Like, as you know, all an agency can do is not all they can do, but the key force multiplier for an agency is to take a client that has a successful conversion mechanism and amplify it with traffic and content. So if you go to a client who can't close deals, who can't enroll people, then you have two choices: either stop working with them, or then you have to like start helping them close deals, and that's difficult, right? I mean, I used to run an agency. I've scaled two agencies, and the biggest frustration was we were dealing with professionals like law firms and local businesses, and they would say, "I'm not getting any clients," and we'd say, "Well, wait a minute, you had 75 leads fill out a full application, and what'd you do with them?" Like, "Oh, we left them a voicemail 2 months ago." I was like, "What?" So it's like, yeah. It's like you almost have to build a business backwards. Everyone starts with thinking about traffic first, like what should I be doing on Instagram, or what should I be doing on Facebook or YouTube, and then they start thinking about funnels second, which is, should I use messenger bots or should I do a webinar versus strategy session funnel? And then when that doesn't work, they think about their core message and their offer. And that's why they struggle so much. So we realize you have to build a business backwards. You have to start with the foundational stuff, their target message, their target market and their offer, and their product and their pricing. Then you have to build the core conversion funnel that's going to get them appointments or sales. And then you worry about traffic last. And that's been a big aha moment, because I guarantee if you talk to 1,000 business owners, 900 and you say, what are you doing right now this week to scale up your business, for your marketing, to grow your business? 999 are going to say something totally whack. Not that they're bad people, but they just have no idea what they should be doing. I'm working on Instagram. And then the other one of them is probably doing the right thing, but not in the right order. So it's like, when I came in the internet space, I thought I was late. I'm sure you're a lot younger than I am, and you still think like the internet's been around forever. But then you realize, like, today, 2019, most businesses are absolutely, completely stuck and in trouble when it comes to figuring out digital marketing. And that's why it's a great time to be an agency or a coach or a consultant, because we aren't even in kindergarten yet when it comes to the marketing life cycle, the landscape out there.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring it up, because I do feel like in many ways the agency landscape is saturated, and particularly with people who don't know what they're doing, and it ends up hurting the reputations of the good guys who do know what they're doing. But on the other side, I do agree with you that it is a very, very good time, because there is so much opportunity out there if you know how to do what you say you can do. Yeah. So another reason why everybody needs to reach out to you, so that you can show them how to perfect their own messaging, as well as for working with their own clients. There's
this. I'm glad you said that, Chris. Not the part about reaching out to me, but about the way the landscape looks, because it was like that in the IM space and the consulting space. Like what everyone's selling is an easy button, and it's dangerous, and it's going to correct itself. Like all these courses, like launch your market agency in one weekend, or, you know, become a high paid consultant in 2 days with no expertise required. That's how the IM space started. It started by 5 people promoting each other's stuff with a whole bunch of fake scarcity. And now there's a new generation. For some reason, I'm the age of all the older gurus, but I just got into this, so I'm still get to hang with you young guys. But you know, Joe and Matt and you and there's like this whole another generation of people that aren't cheesy in that way of using all the fake scarcity.
Yeah.
And now that's going to help correct the market, because the market's going to be more educated, that they don't have to tolerate all that, all that stuff.
Yeah. I sell the least sexy part of running an agency, you know, the operations.
That's the most important part.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this is what I tell people. It's like, you will get to a point and you will realize that selling is easy. It's the operations that is the hard part. And that's where you're going to make or lose all of your money.
That happened to me. We sold, the first time I scaled from web design to doing content marketing and pay-per-click, I was like celebrating. We sold like 48 or 50 clients in a month, and, you know, on significant retainers, you know, $2,500 to $4,000 a month. I was like,
wow,
oh my God. I was like, I'm going to be rich. And then all of a sudden, because I was good at the lead gen, the funnel stuff, and I had a really good sales rep. She's still on my team now, many businesses later. Amanda, how you doing, Amanda? But we looked at the net margins, and it was like 4% profit margin.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we made like $6,000 off like $2 million or something. I was like, what the? And you realize running an agency is running a real business, which is a really good thing, because it's not all that cheesy, you know, someone in their underwear trying to run Facebook ads, but you need to have a real team and a real P&L and a real business. Mm-hmm. And everyone thinks that starting an agency is learning how to place a Facebook ad that gets a strategy session to sell somebody something. But how many times, Chris, have you seen in the ClickFunnels groups or, you know, Facebook ads groups, how many times have you seen this? I just landed my first agency client.
What do I do next?
For $5K. Yeah. What do I do now? And you're like, that poor customer, you know?
Yeah. I was like, oh man, like in some ways I can understand where their heart is at, because, you know, the agency or the entrepreneur mantra is you jump off the cliff and build your airplane on the way down.
Hustle.
But you do have to know how, like if you were to build a house, because I actually relate web development and design a lot to construction. If you were to build a house, right, and you didn't know how to build a foundation, you can't just start building the house.
Yeah, that poor family.
You're gonna kill somebody, right?
Yeah, or imagine even worse, surgery or something. Like imagine if anybody could go charge $15,000 for plastic surgery. We'd have a lot of weird looking people walking around. Actually, here we do in Del Mar, we do, but
yeah, they're easy to identify.
but I'm saying, like, dude, it's like that is what's missing. Is like that's why we want to create the certification and start to have it mean something to actually go through some kind of testing or vetting process.
Yeah.
Because, man, there are literally an army of countless 20-year-olds using their mom's Wi-Fi. And now that there's ClickFunnels and things like that, anyone can have a beautiful looking homepage, and they know how to use like trust icons that say like Forbes. And so now everyone looks famous, Instagram famous. And then people are like, well, cool, here's $10,000. And now they get burnt. So what's the solution to that is for the business owner to take ownership of not all the tasks, but of their own strategy, and figure out what they have to know their own numbers.
Yep. 100%. Hey man, we're just about out of time. So I got to wrap this up, but what is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Just FletcherMethod.com would be good. I have another tax-free, I have another bank down there where you live and that they can just send money directly to. I'm just kidding. Taxes are bummer.
Well, we accept tacos as well as payment.
I want to come down. I want to come down and visit, maybe do some jiu-jitsu and do some masterminding. I'd love to come down there.
Heck yeah. Actually, I'm trying to get this guy that I don't actually know him, but I know him through Facebook's. He's an instructor. His name's Elliot. And he said he's going to do an event out here in LA. And I was like, man, I know a bunch of people who would love to do that in the internet marketing space where we do jiu-jitsu and then we mastermind. It would be super fun.
We should talk about that because I've been thinking about that for a while. That might be a really good project just for fun.
Heck yeah. So last question, who would be the perfect person to reach out to today?
We serve people trying to find the right business model and make their idea real. And then we help people scale. Just, we don't have a pressured funnel to go through. Just check out Fletcher Method. There's a lot of free content, and hopefully this interview and our content can help some people.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for, letting us pick your brain and for jumping on the podcast. To all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in today, and make sure you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Bye, guys.